Okay, thank you very much for joining the session again. Today we are going to talk about slicing in Python programming. So last time we talked about list and how we perform a looping technique in using Python list. So there's another important thing that we all need to know, which is slicing. So there will be a situation whereby you are required to use a specific portion maybe of a data, or maybe we can say of a list or a string. So you don't need the whole object, you only need some portion of it. So in that case, you are going to employ the slicing technique. So when we say slicing in Python programming, you are referring to a technique to extract a portion or subset of a sequence of a data. A data can be a list, a tuple, a string, or even a NumPy array. You can also uh, extract a portion of NumPy array using a slicer. So a slicer is not something very difficult. Just a simple. It's just a technique that you can employ in order to maybe extract a portion of a data, or maybe uh, a list, a tuple, or a string. I think the only thing you don't know is tuple, because we treated list and string. So, but I think in our next session, we are going to talk much deeper uh, in a tuple. So this is what a slicing is. So a slicing is just like a technique in order to extract a portion of a data. So let's give you an example. Like this, here I have the names James, Daniel, Umar, Abdu, and Ali. These are the list. Okay. So if, for example, I just want only the name of Yoruba guys in the list. So maybe just James and Daniel are from the Yoruba, while Omar, Abdul, and Ali are from the Hausa family. So if I want only these people from Yoruba, so I'm going to use a slicing technique. Slicing will help me to extract only those two from the list. That's why I have this Yoruba, then this is equals to. Then you are going to write the name of the list, then you provide a square bracket. Then the first thing is you are going to employ the first index you want to slice. From which index you want to slice? Maybe I want to start from index 0. That's the first element. I have James here. And I want to stop at, I have maybe, I want to stop at Daniel. So please note that in slicing, the last one, the last element is exclusive. That's why here I have two. If I run it, this will not be available. So this the element and the index at the end will not be available. So this is just a technique. So um this is just the idea. So this is um, um uh, okay, yeah, sorry. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, that's very good. So this is just the idea. So let me give you an example here. Okay, before I talk about that one, so there will be a situation whereby maybe you read a certain maybe element, but maybe at a particular order, maybe after some certain steps. Let me give you an example with this image here. Okay, so let's assume I have this image. So this image, this is just like a number line with numbers from 0 to 5. Okay, sorry, this is just a number line. Let me take this list, which is I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. So let's assume maybe I want to extract uh element from this list. Okay, so the first thing is, if you want, okay, let me show you something. Okay, let me explain it in that way. Maybe you understand it. So let's assume I want this element, but I want them at an interval of 2 2. For example, if I want this 10, then need this 30, then maybe this 40, this 50, sorry. So how can I do it? So this is a procedure that I'm going to employ. So the first thing is at index, I can write 1 here. Okay. But okay, let me show you something like this here. Okay. Um, okay, let me write numbers here. Okay. Okay. Let's assume I have these numbers. Okay. Let's assume I have this. Okay. Let's assume I have this list. I want to have a list of numbers, for example, here. Let me print it so that you will all see what I'm going to do here. Okay, let me print this one. Okay, look at this other list. So let's assume I want to extract only those numbers that are even numbers. So this is my target. So I can write here, I can have even, I can have even numbers like here. Okay. So if I want these even numbers to be okay, let me use it here. Okay, I want to start from maybe index 1. Okay. And I want it to be maybe up to index let's assume up to index 11. Let's assume index 11. So I have this column here. So this 11 means I need it up to index 11. Here, the first this one is starting from, yeah, I'm going to start from index 1, while this 11, index 11, that's a terminal point. So the next thing is I want them in a step. I don't want them just like that. I want them at interval of 2 2, only those that are divided by 2. So I can have this third parameter. This is what you call step. Okay, so I can have step. So I want them an interval of 2 2. So I can have, okay, sorry, no, sorry, something like this. Okay, so I can have maybe print even number, sorry, yeah. So you have these are even numbers. So I don't know whether you fully understand what I mean. So this is the situation whereby maybe you just need maybe a certain portion of the data. So how do you extract them? The process what you call slicing. Maybe you don't want all to be, you don't need only those numbers in the sequence. You want them at an interval of so so so. So you employ this last parameter. So we'll talk about that one maybe detail later. Okay. So let's assume I have another name here. Let's assume I have maybe student. Okay. So let's assume I have this student here. Okay. And so let's assume I want to print maybe top three. Let's assume this student are arranged in, let's assume based on their performance in the class. So if I want to print the top students in the class, so let me start from index 0 here. Let me say index 0 here. Okay. So I have 0. So you remember, it starts from 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. But this 3 will not be exclusive. Remember. So I can have print top student. Okay. Okay. So if you can see, I just have John, Mary, Sam. The reason why this selection is very, very important is that if maybe you are training a machine learning model and you don't want, you know, there is a problem in machine learning model which is called overfitting. So sometimes when you are training a machine learning model with a lot of data, for example, then it will try to uh, fully understand the data deeply. So once you change the data, maybe you implement another one, then the machine will fail. Let me give you just like a student in the class. Maybe a student will do all his best to cram maybe a certain example that maybe he's expected in the exam. But when this example is changed during the exam, then the student will fail. So this is just like a machine learning. In a machine learning, a model is now trying to mimic all the behavior of the data, trying to follow all the behavior, all the pattern of the data. So by so doing, is now the model is now uh, cramming the data. So once this data is changed, we employ another data and maybe want to make prediction with the model, then it will fail. So that's why this the idea of this slicing comes into being. So with slicing, you can reduce all the unwanted data. For example, let me give you an example. Maybe you are trying on machine learning models to predict a concrete strength. There will be a certain parameter, for example, like slump, like a workability of the concrete. All these parameters, they don't contribute to the strength actually. So that means these are unwanted data. So with slicing, you can remove all this data to use only the relevant one. So that's why the slicing is very important. We will talk about that one maybe in our uh, machine learning class. So this is what I want you to understand. So uh, and another important thing is let me give you an example. Another thing is that let's assume. Okay, are you following? Let me see. Are you following?
Yes, we are following.
Okay, that's very good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are following.
Okay, that's very good. So this is just the idea of slicing. So the first thing is this. Look at it. Let me come back here. So this is the most important thing to understand about slicing. If you don't want maybe maybe you don't want the element to be in step, so you omit this last parameter. You can just have your start and your stop, and there will be a situation whereby maybe uh, you want to start from the beginning. So if you want to start from the beginning, so you don't need to, sometimes you don't need to specify the index zero. Let me give you an example here. So let me run this again. Okay. So let's assume I have let me let me say let me pass three numbers. Let me call pass three numbers. Okay, sorry. Okay, so first five numbers. So instead of me to look at it, instead of me to start, but maybe I don't want to maybe specify this zero. I can omit it like this. You see? So if I didn't specify this element, this parameter at the beginning, that means I want the Python to print it from the beginning. Do you understand? From the beginning. So if I run this program, let me run it. So you see, it started from the beginning. And if I want, I can run the same. I can specify this one as index zero here, and I can run it. You see, the result doesn't change. So sometimes you don't need to specify the first element if you are want to start from zero or from index zero. Yeah. And another thing is that maybe you want things to maybe start from index one, maybe to the end. If you want, okay, we'll talk about that one later. So this is okay. Let me explain this one. So here the players, Charles, Martina, Michael, Clarence, Ellie. So I want to print the first three elements. So okay, I just use the looping technique here. Okay, because I want them to print one after another. So I think you'll understand this one, right? Okay, you don't need so as I don't need to explain this one much detail because we have treated this looping. Okay, so if okay here, if you omit the first index in a slice, the factors start at the beginning of the list. Okay, this is just what I have explained here. And let me show you another example. Let's assume I have names here. Names. Okay. So I have these names here, for example. And I want this name to print only okay. I want this name to print only from Sadiq to Aisha. Okay. So what should I do is let me use something like here. Okay, sorry, yeah. Okay. So instead of let me have something like I want to have maybe a if you see this slide slant, it means y- you want pattern to drop one line. Okay. So you don't need to okay. It means just come to the second line. This is an instruction. Just pattern move to the when you print this statement, move to the second line. Okay. Yeah. So let me show you something like this. Okay. Okay. So let me run it like this so that you understand what I mean. It's okay. Okay. Then I can have maybe names. Okay. Okay. Look at what I want. Okay. So if okay, let's let's assume maybe I want this name to be printed, but not in the same line. So I can come here and use backslant. Okay, with n. Okay, let me run it. Okay, you can see. And I don't want this to be printed like uh, I want them to be printed one after another. Okay, so I can have something like this. Let me like this. Yeah. Okay, so I can come back here and say for name for name in names. Okay, so here I'm specifying the element. I want it to start from index 0. Okay, to this, but only the names of people within this slice. I want them to be printed and in title case. So let me run the program, and this is so. If I don't want this space, I can come back here and remove this n here, here, and I can run it here again, and look at how the name is. Okay, so and also a syntax can also work if we omit the last element, just like what I told you here. Let me say we have a numbers here. Okay, so and I want no okay, let me say I want to print numbers. Uh, uh, let me say odd numbers. Okay, I don't want to say odd numbers. Let me say last five numbers. Okay, so since I want last five numbers, so that means I will omit since I want the list to be up to the last point. So I don't need to specify the last parameter. So I'm just going to leave it. So that means I want Python to print uh up to the last parameter, up to the last item, okay, in the list. Okay, so I can have this one and I can run the program. So you see I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you can do the looping as well. Okay, so and there will be a situation whereby I think I have done this one also. Instead of me to come and say numbers like this, numbers, yeah, instead of me to come and open something like 1, 2, 3. So if I want to maybe have maybe a 1,000, a list that contain 1,000 numbers. So I think it will be tedious for me. So that's why the idea of this range function come into being. So I think with range function, we can define a list. The only thing is that we are going to have a list function. Okay. So because a range is not a list function. So you are going to provide a list like this. Okay, sorry. Okay. So list. Okay, sorry. Okay. On this list, it's telling the Python that this range I'm giving you, please convert, please convert this range into a list. Okay. Let me move it into 100 or 1,000. The Python will generate this for you. Okay. Okay. Let me call it 1,000. Okay. Okay. So this is on the Python. Please create a list with this range of numbers. So we can run the program and the program run. So if let me show you something. Let me show you the numbers. Okay. Now I don't let me print it them all. Okay, let me print only the okay, let me print the last element only. Last two elements, okay? Or the last three numbers, yeah. Okay. So just like what I told you before, when uh during the indexing of item in a list, there was what you call a negative indexing. The last element in the list is always what? -1. Okay. Then the second to the last will be -2. The third one will be -3. So that's why here I have -3 here, like, -3 here. Then I didn't specify the last element. So I can run it here. So you can have this like this. Okay. And if I want, so I think the last element will be at index what? Will be at index 900 and what? Sorry, 900 and what? And 97. Okay. So if I run it, okay, sorry, here will be the 996. Okay. So, but this one is too complex. And I think the best approach you can use the negative index. Huh? Okay. So you can have this -3 around like this. Okay. So this is the idea of range come into being. So if maybe you want to come uh, create a list of numbers, so you can use what? A range and a list function. So here you are using the two different function. The first one is range, the second one is list. But list has to be at the outer level, then this range has to be at the inner level. Okay. And while creating a list, a list using a range, let me give you an example. Okay, let me say numbers here. Okay, I can define a list like this. Okay, sorry. I can define a list like this with only, sorry, okay. That means here, means I want this list to create, I want this Python to get a list with a range of 10. This means your initial position has to be what? 0. Okay, so the list will start from 0 up to this level. That's why here we have here from 0, you start from here 0 up to what? 9. So remember, 10 will not be is exclusive. Remember, always remember this. Okay, so if, for example, maybe I want it to start from 2, so I can have here I have 2. Okay, something like this. So let me show you something. So what I want to show you here is let me write it in markdown. Okay. Okay, so so always range function always range function. Take this argument. These are the argument. The number one means start. Okay. Number two is end. Then the third parameter, which is not necessarily, is step. Okay. So this is how range function works. It's start, end, and step. Okay. So for example here, let me have even numbers. Okay. Let me change this one to even numbers. Okay. So even numbers always start from, okay, let it be start from zero. Okay. So let's start from zero. Okay. And I want 10 to be a fair. So since 10 will not be a fair, I can change this one to 11 like this and provide what I want. Let me provide a step. Okay, a step of two, something like this. So I can print even numbers. So you see, even numbers. So I think is zero an even number? Yes, it's an even number because zero divided by two will not give a remainder. Okay, so zero is also an even number. So maybe if we don't want, we can change this one to if you are not agree with me, we can have this one. Okay, sorry, we can have here we have two because one will be included. Then we can run a program. Then we can run the program, and this is the numbers. Okay, so this is how to use a function. Okay, yeah, this is exactly what I have said. How to provide a step and that's the start argument. So here we have the list of even numbers. Look at I have 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, these are even numbers. And there will be a situation whereby you declare, okay, let me show you something. I know what is looping technique. And I told you before, the idea of looping uh, is when we have maybe when we have maybe you want to maybe you want to perform an operation with maybe the same operation over all the element in the list. So if you want to do that, instead of you to keep repeating yourself, you can just declare a looping and the looping will do the rest of the work for you. Just like here, okay? Let me give you an example here. Let me say cubes, okay? Cube, okay? Okay, so let me declare this one as cube, okay? So I want to have this cube. Okay, you see how the the intellectual has helped me to all do this. Okay, instead of me to have these numbers, so I can have, I want, okay, uh, let me move this one. Let me come another one. Okay, let me cubes of, sorry, cubes of first, okay, sorry, first 10. So let me declare it as empty. Okay, so I want a cube of only the first 10 numbers, okay? So to do that, let me have, instead of me to come and say something like, let me show you something like, here I come here. Instead of me to come here and say, for example, I have one, for example, then I have to power it by three, something like this. So I think this one will be a tedious work for me, right? So since the operation will be the same, so instead of me to do that, I will come here and just say something like, let me declare an empty list like this one. So then I can use looping. So I can say for maybe number in, then I can have the range. Maybe I want from past 10 number, so I can have this range from 1 to 11. Remember, 11 will not be inclusive, right? So that means this is the what this is the looping area. Okay. So what I want is that I want this empty list that I declare here, cubes. I want to append. I told you this one. This append means please add this element at the end. Okay. So when I run this program, the pattern will remember the pattern will take the first element, which is one. Yeah. It can take one and it power it by three. It will be one. It will put it inside the list. Then it will take another one and another the next element in the list, which is what? Which is two. It will power it by three. Remember, it will be eight, right? Then it will put it inside uh the list. Up until all the range is exhausted, then I want it to print out the list. Okay. Okay, sorry. Let me print it out. Okay. Let me print it out. So you see. So this is how you use Dolphin. So this is the something as what I did here. Okay. Okay. So here I'm just trying to uh find a number that has a square root with a range of 1 to 100. That's why I put 101 here. So here is a numpy because I'm going to employ the square root. Okay, that's why I employ this numpy. Numpy is a package. Remember last time we installed numpy, right? Okay, so we import numpy as np. This np is what you call alias. Instead of me to always use numpy, I can say np. So here instead of me to write if numpy dot square root, so I can use if np dot square root. So this means so I declare this numbers with square root as what? Look at it as empty list, right? Okay, so I run this program. Okay, I write this one for number a range of 110. So if a number, then if a number within this range has a square root that is integer, that is what? That is whole number, not point. So please append it inside this. Append the number inside this list. So when I run this program, so let's add the list. So remember, statistic is very, very important. So sometimes we want to make a sense of the data. So that's the idea of statistic. So you need to know the minimum, the maximum, the standard deviation, sometimes the median or the mode. So it depends depending on what your comment is. Okay. So you can do some kind of statistic with a list. Okay. So for example, here I have a digit. I have a digit from 1 to 10. Okay. So if I want to filter uh, the sum or maybe the minimum, so I can use, for example, here, I can have just what, for example, let me show you something like this. Okay. Let me run this one. Okay. Okay. So if I want to find the maximum, for example, here. Okay. So I can have, okay. So look at it here. The maximum number, you just employ this one. Max. Look at it. Max. This is the function. Then you provide the name of the list. Then you can. Okay. Let me print it here. Okay. Okay. Just I want to print it out. Just like okay, sorry. I want to print it out. Okay. Want to provide us max number. Okay. So you see the maximum number is what is 10. So you can also find the minimum number. So here that's why I have the minimum number is I use mean, then have the this is just like an explanation. Okay. After I write this string, then I have the comma, then I write the code here. Here is the explanation, the maximum number the list is, then I have the maximum, something like this. And if you want to find the sum means here, if I want these numbers to be added off. Okay, let's assume I have a very large list. Okay. Let me have let me have a list that has 1000 elements, for example. List. Okay. Okay, so let's have let me declare it as okay, let me have numbers, okay, for example. Okay, so I want numbers to be started from, let's assume I want it started from, okay, let me make it 1000. Okay, just 1000. Okay, sorry, 1000. Okay, and what I want is I want uh, I want the sum of these numbers. Okay, so I can have print. Okay, the sum of numbers from 0 to, yes, something like this. So I can run the program and look at the sum of numbers from 0 to 999 is, look at the sum will be 499,500. Okay, so this is that. So thank you very much. I don't know whether there is some people with questions, so the time is yours to ask your question. I think our session will end now, but we can join the within the same link to answer your questions. So, any question? Please, is there any question? Please, is there any question?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.